Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to the K3ARK Ham Shack. We're not outside today because it is currently 15 degrees, so I figured I'd make a video inside going over the Yaesu FT-891 and the Digirig and two different ways to hook this up. You can do it without cat control, which means that you have to manually dial to the FT8 frequencies. But once you're there, the computer will do the rest. It will PTT and do all that. But if you want, the second option we're going to do is with cat control, where your computer is controlling your radio. So when you switch from, say, 20 meters to 15 meters, your computer sends the message to the 891. It gets the note and it changes automatically. So you don't have to, it will, one, change it to the frequency, and two, change the mode to the data mode. So you don't have to do it. So that's what we're going to go over, and I'm going to show you those two ways and what you need. Okay, so of course, the first thing you're going to need in this situation is an FT-891, which I have right here. The second thing you're going to need to make this whole thing work is a Digirig. Hopefully that's focusing. And then once you have those two things, you will need the USB-B to USB-C cable, and I would recommend and encourage you to order the one. You can actually get this one on Amazon. It is the Digirig cable, but make sure you get it with the RF protection in line here with some clip-on ferrites. I've seen a lot of people that have issues with RFI and that make the Digirig and digital operation totally they're totally unable to do it because of RFI. So that's the first cable you're going to need. You can also get USB-C to USB-C. So this is a USB-B to USB-C. So this is the one that I have. Now, the second cable you will need is another one from Digirig that also has the RF protection. This has your audio headphone jack there. And then on this side, we have the 6-pin connector that goes into the back of the radio, and I'll show you where this one plugs into. So these are the things you will need to do it the first way we're going to go over with no cat control. Okay, so now we're going to go over connecting the Digirig to the FT-891. Now all this is going to take place at the back of the radio. You're going to want to get, what I usually do first is get my USB-B to USB-C and connect that to the Digirig. Now this end will be going into the computer in a minute, so we're going to put this one over that way. And then the next one, this is pretty easy. You can just match up the black to the black here. So this is our audio cable that will then connect into the connector, the audio connector that is immediate left to the immediate left of your USB-A port there. So get that lined up. There's a little divot there you can see. Maybe it's focusing right there. I usually just line that straight up at the top, put it on, push it in. Now the first time I did this, it did not want to go in, and I was afraid I was going to break it. So don't be worried, be firm and just give it a good little push. Now, as far as the Digirig goes, obviously we got to hook up our power cable and an antenna. But as far as the Digirig goes, this is it. This is all you will connect to the radio for the first way I'm going to show you here.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go to the Yaesu website. You're going to find, so here's how you get to it. If you're at the beginning of the homepage here, you go to Products, HF Transceivers and Amplifiers. Click on that. Up here are your HF transceivers. We are specifically doing the FT-891, so you're going to want to click on that. Go to Files. Go down here to the, well, first off, get the driver installation manual. Click on that. It will automatically start downloading. If you have Chrome, it'll show up here. And if you click on it, it'll open it up in the browser. And right here, it tells you not to connect your 891 to your computer because it could automatically install the wrong driver. And we don't want that to happen. It could be a total mess. to try to undo that, and who knows, it may never work right if you do that. So go back to the Yaesu files page here, and I downloaded both the SCU17 USB driver and the USB driver virtual COM port driver. So you're going to want both of those. You're going to download those, extract them, and install them according per the instructions here. Now it's a little different for Windows 10 and 11, so be sure to pay attention to that. But once you have all that done, the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out which COM port the Digirig is what our computer recognizes it as being. So you're going to right click on the Windows screen. You're going to go to Device Manager. Now I already have it open, so I'm not clicking there. Since I already have it open here, we're going to open that. Now you've already installed your drivers and plugged in your radio after you installed your drivers, and you should see Silicon Labs, you should see this COM port. But if you don't, the easiest way to figure out which COM port to use is going to be to unplug your Digirig from your computer, let that reset, pay attention to which one disappears, plug the Digirig back in, and then see which one reappears here. And it is COM6, the Silicon Labs driver. So we are done there. We only need one COM port since this first option is no cat control. So we're going to go and open up WSJTX, let that populate, and we're going to go ahead and turn the radio on also. So we need to go up here to File, Settings. Now you will probably, when you first plug this in, you're going to get an error message. Just hit OK and it should open up Settings. First thing we're going to do here is go to Audio. The Digirig is always going to be, I don't know if it won't always be number 6, but it will always be the USB PNP sound device. You're going to want that for the input and then also for the output. And that's all we need to do here. Now, we're going to go over to radio so we can tell WSJTX how it's going to be controlling the radio. And in this case, we don't have cat control, so it's not automatically going to tune the radio and put it into the data mode. We're going to have to do that manually. But what it will do is it will do the PTT. So you're going to want to, first thing is, this is very important, and this took me a while to figure this out, but for rig, you're actually going to want to choose none. Some videos out there will tell you to choose the 891, but if you do that, it kind of messes everything up. So I chose none. And then over here, you want to choose RTS and the port from the drop down, which we know is 6. So you're going to do that. The next thing we're going to need to do is go over here to the radio. We are on 20 meters. You can see here we're on the 20 meter WSJTX frequency, which is 14.074. Since we don't have cat control, we've got to come over here and manually do this on the radio. We have to change the frequency to, there you can hear the beautiful WSJTX noises. I'm turning that down for a reason, and I'll tell you that in a second. Now, so now we're on the right band and frequency. We need to be in the right mode. So for the 891, we'll press and hold band and choose data. Now it's starting to sound a little bit different. Now, so we've done that, now let's go back over to the computer here. We're going to turn that down. We're going to hit test PTT. It's going to turn red, but that's actually good. And then click it again to stop it from transmitting. So that's actually good. It's confusing, but when it turns red, it's good. So now WSJTX knows what radio we're using, what COM port we're using, and how it's going to PTT when it's time to transmit. Second thing we need to do is we have a problem here because our incoming audio is way too loud and it's clipping. Now the way you adjust that with the 891 is with your RF gain. So we are going to turn up the RF gain until we get that green, which I like it to be between 60 and 80. As long as it's not turning red, I think you're good, and I have had good luck with that. Now, if you look up here at the waterfall, it looks a little funny. We have a big incoming something or whatever there. And that's not what we want to see. We want to see small little lines. And I have this set to 5 here. And I just did that based on another video, and that has always worked good. We need to turn that RF gain up a little more. So now back over on the radio, we are going to go into our just basic menu here. We're going to go to width, and we want to turn that all the way up. We want it to be able to hear everything. Now SPL, that is split, and that's just how I happen to have it set up, where it's hearing on channel A and it's hearing on A and transmitting on B. We're not going to go over that. That's just how I have it set up. So if you want to do that, it's fine. So hit the menu. We're going to go through here. I do have the AGC on. Without it on, the audio just sounded really distorted and kind of trashy, scratchy. So I turned the AGC on, but we want everything else off. You want noise blanker off, Vox off, you want your processor off, you want everything off. So now that the radio is set up, we're going to go back over here to WSJTX, and that's it. You're good to go here. I'm going to open up Grid Tracker, move this down. And if you haven't heard of Grid Tracker, it is an amazing piece of software, companion software for WSJTX, where you can see, it's really cool because it puts everything on a map. If we move this here, open that, and it gives you a nice little list of all of the stations that you can hear, grids, because that's what I'm doing right now is chasing grids. So anyways, we have it set up for the first option where we've manually tuned in our radio, and we're a little bit off, and we're ready to go. So let's just go up here. Now this is like anything else. You want to use good, proper radio etiquette. Wait a few minutes, find a free frequency, somewhere that's clear where nobody's transmitting, and let's go ahead and enable the transmit. It does a 15-second receive and a 15-second transmit, so we've got to let it go through that. The other thing we're going to watch here is our AL meter. I have it on and I'm not getting any. Oh wait, we're actually getting a lot, so we want to turn that down, and you do that with the power slider here on WSJTX. Now we want to get that down to minimum there. Let's just see what happens here. Maybe turn up the RF gain a little bit. We're getting a little high. Let's start clipping, keep that down. So nothing on one. Let's go. I do want to change my meter, make sure my SWR is good. SWR is flat. Well, the point of this video is not to make contacts, but it is to show you how to set up the 891 2 different ways. Well, hey, look. So here we've got a contact coming in from E9DK, Indiana. We'll let it go ahead and play out, and then we're going to go over the second way to hook up the 891 with cat control, which is going to include a third cable. And you also want to use a cable that has some sort of RF mitigation device on it. I'm not going to answer any of these. We made our one contact. We are going... All right, so we did that. We're going to exit out of everything here. And since we're going to be unplugging things, I'm going to go ahead and close down WSJTX because it tends to throw things off.
Okay, so now for the second option, we are going to need now this is the option where we will have cat control, where our computer will dial the FT-891 for us. It will change the mode if necessary. you will need a USB-A to USB-B, or this could be USB-C here, just depending on your certain your specific application. But in mine, we're going to have a USB-B to USB-A. The USB-B in goes into the computer, and the USB-A plugs into the back of the radio right here next to our Digirig. So now we've got that plugged in, we're going to plug this end into the computer, and I'll show you how to set this up in WSJTX.
Okay, so now that we have our USB plugged into the radio and the computer, we're going to turn the radio back on. We're going to come over here and open up WSJTX. And just like before, we need to know which port we're going to be using. So we need to go back to our device manager. I'm going to open that up, and you can see here we have a whole bunch of new stuff. So the same way as we did before, we're not sure which one it is, so we're going to unplug the USB in. Everything's going to shut down and reset, and then we're going to pay attention to, so we still have our COM6 here from the Digirig, and then we're going to plug back in the USB cable, if I can get it into the side of my computer. We're going to plug it back in, and we're going to switch what reappears. Okay, so you can see here now, before we only had one COM port appear, we have two. And from what I've been told, when you have two appear, you always want to choose the lowest number of the two. So in this case, it's the 7, and so far that's what I've done, and it's worked. So we know that we need COM port 6 and COM port 7. So we're going to go back over to the settings in WSJTX. Make sure we're recording there. Go back over to settings. We want to go to audio and just make sure our Digirig is still showing up there. Hear that? Now we're going to go back to our radio and our rig control, and now you do want to choose the FT-891 for the rig, because we are setting up rig control and we want the computer to know which radio it is controlling. So we're going to go to Yaesu and hit Yaesu 891. And once you do that, now you see you have these options coming up here. So the port that we just plugged in was port 7. Now, for your baud rate, that is something that you set in the radio, and there are other videos on that. I'll try to link one below that goes over all the audio settings in the radio that you're going to want to set up. That's kind of outside of the scope of this video. But you will want this to match, and I have 38400 baud for mine. So here we have the new cable that we plugged into the radio and into the computer, which is COM7. Over here, we're going to want to change this to CAT now, because we're doing CAT control. It is already on COM6, and if you need to change that, just go to RTS, go to the drop down, choose 6, and then hit CAT so that it knows we're doing CAT control. So you have the radio, the FT-891, the COM port 7. You can feel free to copy these settings here if you'd like. This is how I have it. I have it set up for split mode, data here, PKT, and then we're going to go and test the CAT and see if the radio and the computer are happy, and they are. When that turns green, that's a good thing. And we're going to hit test PTT, and when that turns red, it's a good thing. And you should see, if I do that, the radio key up there, and our SWR is good. So we are finished there. We're going to hit OK. Now watch over down on the radio. I'm going to go over to 15 meters, and the computer is going to, now unlike the first way we did this, where we had to manually dial and manually set everything, now with CAT control, the computer is doing that for us. But like everything else, you have to go through, make sure your width is good, and make sure you don't have any other settings on there. So that is going to be option number 2. Same thing, find a clear frequency to test it out. We're going to enable transmit, to do that. And I have my FT-891 on, and so I'm going to halt the transmit because it was coming through there. They're too close. But anyways, so there you have it. And those are the two different ways to do that.
Alright guys, so that is the two different ways you can connect the Digirig to the FT-891. One with no cat control where you manually dial, and then with cat control where your computer dials, sets the frequency and the appropriate mode for FT8. I hope this video is helpful. If you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments below. I do read those and try to answer every single one of them, so be sure to leave that comment below. Thank you again for watching. Consider liking and subscribing. This is Joseph, K3ARK with Rocky Mountain Ham Radio, and we will see you next time.